Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Youthman. As you can see, I'm not in my home theater, but I'm up here in Kansas City, Kansas with my friend Bill. We're gonna be checking out his incredible home theater in his basement, and it's quite unique in a bunch of different aspects. So Bill, thanks so much for inviting us to kind of come hang out. And we're up here in Kansas. We're doing 9 home theater tours over the period of only 4 days. And so Bill's one of those. And man, we've had some great demos here in your home theater. So Bill, kind of tell us maybe, first of all, what size is your room? Even roughly.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be rough because I haven't measured it in a while. It's been a couple years since it's built. I think it's about 14 feet and some change by about 26.
Okay, so it's pretty deep room. And then height?
And height's where the challenge came in.
Okay, so tell me about that.
It's ultimately about 7 feet 6 inches
Yeah.
finished, but it's actually less than that. There was a fair amount of ductwork here that we have to work around, and there it's less.
Yeah, so something back here. Tell me the story back there when people are in the back.
Yeah, if somebody's in the back who's 6 foot or more, if you stand up in the middle of a movie, because it's pretty much blacked out, so when you turn off the lights and they're watching a movie, it's hard to see when you stand up.
Sure.
So yeah, you can be prone to hit your head on
You can smack a good one, right?
Yeah, it can happen.
So one thing that's totally unique, I've never seen this done before, is like you've got black velvet everywhere. And I think I'm pretty sure, like if you guys are looking for black velvet, it's probably out of stock. And this dude's a result of it.
Really?
Yeah, because you bought it all out.
I did? I didn't know that.
So kind of tell us, like, why did you want to black out your, because some theater rooms, they want it to be a cool vibe, cool decor, LED lights. You kind of went the totally different direction. Like you wanted to not see anything. Kind of walk us through that. Why'd you choose that?
Well, it's just my philosophy, how Kubrick did things with his movies, everything had to be kind of ticked and tied in a certain way. Well, I just wanted absolute uncompromising like visual and audio perfection. So I mean, with the audio, I wanted to get perfectly balanced levels. I write and record music too.
Yeah.
And after this, I'm doing a recording studio, so it was just important to me to have really locked in, dialed in sound, and then just a floating visual image with absolutely no distractions. You can't ever achieve that goal, but as minimal distractions as possible. So yeah, I wanted to get the speaker set up as dialed in as I could, and the acoustics, and it's a room within room design for that reason. But yeah, as far as the visuals go, I figured the most absorptive option. So I'd read a few threads on it. I mean, a lot of people black their stuff out.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got samples and tested it. There was one guy who did this in the UK, his was like twice the size of mine with like an 11-foot ceiling or so. But he did a similar thing, and I kind of got inspired by that. It was curved walls. It was really sweet, but it was totally blacked out. But I don't think his is probably as black because he did, I think, gray carpet, and he didn't do as absorptive of velvet. So But I'd love to see that theater, to be honest, in person.
So you mentioned being inspired, and that's really part of why I do these, because I want somebody to look at. I want somebody to look at this and go, "Man, there's something in Bill's setup that I want to do in mine." Because I know when I was looking at building my home theater, I was in the AVS forum. I was talking to guys that had it. I had visited a couple, and there's always like something that you pull out of it, and you go, "Man, that's a cool idea." So that's why what I hope these videos bring my audience. And then speaking of the black velvet, I never would have thought of this, but you went as far as to even put black velvet on parts of your speaker, right?
Yeah.
So why'd you do that?
And I kind of want to do more.
Okay. Well, all right, guys, you better get the velvet now.
Well, I've got it.
About to buy. Oh, he's still got it.
I'm going to use some of it for my studio too.
Sure.
But honestly, the ones on these front speakers was just because of just practicality. Once we got the theater to like 80% completion, I started watching some movies in here, and these speakers in front are slanted towards you, and just the image, it was spilled light from the image coming off there, just bugging the heck out of me. So
So that's like a kind of a pet peeve of yours. You
Yeah.
don't want to see nothing.
So
You just
I
want
had to do it.
visually be drawn into the image.
Had to do it, yeah.
To be sucked into the movie. And that was what was cool when we were
Yeah.
watching the demos. We're watching the movie and like, I mean, I saw a couple little reflections. I know that drives you nuts. You even mentioned it. You're like, dang it, I can see the corner of that speaker or that little, you know, piece. But dude, it was crazy. You shut the lights out, and when the JVC was firing up, we saw, you know, you could see it wasn't like pitch perfect black on the screen like an OLED. But when the iris kicked in, guys, seriously, this room went gone. And I asked Tony, I was like, Tony, smile so I can actually see there's somebody else in the room with me. You know, I was hoping something would reflect, but dude, it completely like the room disappears and all you see is the image, man.
Yeah.
And speaking of the image, tell me about this crazy huge screen you got. What's like the width or at least the diagonal, and kind of, is it fabric? Did you buy it? Did you build it?
No, I bought it. It was Seymour XD, I'm pretty sure.
Like the Center Stage XD?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And I think it's around 14 feet. Honestly, I should measure it.
It's big, and
it's been a while since you know I ordered it. It's been, so I forget the exact specs, but I'm pretty sure it's 14 feet or close to.
14 feet wide?
I think. Yeah, wide. I think.
Yeah.
I think.
Do you know about the diagonal?
No, I gotta calculate it then because it's 2.40. So
It's probably, do you think it's bigger than 150 diagonal?
yeah, it should be. Yeah.
Mine's 150 diagonal, I believe. I'm like 12 and a half feet, so you're probably huge, dude.
Well, let's see. It's if it, I'm just gonna guess it's 14. I should look it up, but I'm not gonna. So I can calculate it out because it's a squared plus b squared, right?
He's got to do math.
What 2.4 times 42 equals, so 3.6.
2 hours later.
So Bill, what
I
we
pushed
come
the
up
wrong
with?
button. I didn't. I think it's above 150. Just doing it in my head.
He was trying to do the calculation, but it wasn't working. So
Well, I hit the wrong button.
it's a massive screen, so acoustically transparent, right? So we've got, so before we get to what's behind the screen, you've got some cool masking, man. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, that's a Seymour masking system as well. They've got two different options. This one, one closes all the way down, you know, infinitely to full close. Not
Sure.
infinitely, but
Right.
all the way full stop to close all the way.
Okay.
And then they've got one system, I think it's called the trim masking system that I've got. It'll close down to 16:9.
Okay.
To 1.78 to 1 ratio.
So you can pretty much do everything, but like your 4x3 or
Well, you
there's
could,
another one.
Yeah, you could. The electric masking will take it down to 16:9, but then so 1.78. But then if you want to go a little bit further, you know, go to like 4x3 or 1.33 to 1, then you got to have manual panels. So
Sure, and add that with it.
I had a couple of them made. Yeah.
So that way you electronically mask in, and then you put manual masking on top of that.
Well, actually, when you put the manual mask on, you have to deploy them all the way out to 2.4 to put just to put the mask on.
I see what you're saying.
But so I've got pretty much most aspect ratios covered. Not every single one, but
Yeah, so you
we
had
do a
like
lot of 'em.
6 or 7 or 8 of them. So that was
Yeah,
really
like
cool.
6 of them. Yeah.
So when
all
we were
told.
looking at it, he can dial it in and just come in until he gets the right. And that's the crazy thing too. It's surprising to me that how many different aspect ratios there are.
There are a lot.
So when you're building your screen and designing your screen, like, why did you want to go with scope? Because some people want to do, you know, a big 16:9, and then they want to mask down to the scope. So why did you want to go with scope?
Well, in my particular case, it's just the purpose of the room and movie content. You know, this is 100% dedicated theater. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I'm building a studio also to do all my music stuff. So
Sure.
anything I do, audio is going to be there.
Yeah.
And then eventually I'll, you know, have a nice 2-channel listening system upstairs for just lounging and stuff. So this, the only purpose I'll ever do down here is movies. That's it. 100% movies. I mean, I might listen to music every once in a while, but I just generally don't. And like the movie content, like probably at least 60+% of the movies I watch are in 2.4, 2.35, 2.2.
Sure.
So I just figured it made far more sense to go wide.
Yeah.
So it's just a practical thing for me. I mean, I don't watch a ton of TV down here, so
Yep.
I'm not watching a lot of 1.78.
Yeah.
If I come down here, it's going to be, you know, a big movie, a CinemaScope movie, a 2.4 probably.
And that's a different feel than you get from just a TV.
This is a screening room, you know,
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's behind the screen. So you got this big, massive screen, and the cool thing is you've got a really easy way of removing that screen. So kind of how's it held up?
Just by 2 metal brackets.
Yeah, they're like little cleats, and then on the back, these kind of mount on there. So
they've got a lip.
Takes a couple people, lift it up.
You can do it solo. I've done it solo. It just is a little bit tricky, but it's once you get a process, you can do it. It's not as easy. It's far easier. But yeah, just 2 metal lips.
So looking behind the screen, we'll kind of talk about the speakers but you've also got some interesting stuff that I see back there as well. So walk us through like what's behind the screen.
Well, I mean, there's some insulation back there, just for acoustical purposes, and then as far as speakers wise, there's a left, center, right. They're JTRs, the 212 HTs, which you got that, and then I've got 2 JTR orbit shifters in between. So it's, you know, left orbit shifter, center orbit shifter, right.
You said orbit shifter. What the heck does that even mean, man? Why do they call it the orbit shifter?
Because it does.
But it'll move the planet, man.
But they're just, you know, subwoofers shaped like it's the size of a small refrigerator.
Yeah.
They got, you know,
refrigerator, brother. That's a big refrigerator.
They got the folded tube system in it.
Yeah, I think it's like a folded horn.
Folded horn, yeah.
Man, huge amount of bass. So you've got identical speakers, and I love that. I've always been an advocate of having, especially if you got a dedicated theater room, putting an identical speaker, left, center, right, seamless sound stage. But even in the middle, I've never seen that. I mean, a lot of times people just put insulation all in there, but in the middle is a little bit different behind those. So tell me a little bit about that.
Now that's an acoustic thing that I don't. I've read studio design books, so I know there's theory behind it, but that is not me. I worked with a guy on that. Michael Baker was his name. I don't know if you can say names.
No, go ahead, Michael Baker. We appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. So he said that if we put the wood slats in this particular configuration, that it would true up the room in terms of the perfect nodes, you know, for the waves and all that. Because we did clap tests and all that kind of stuff, and tweaked it and trued it up. But yeah, they're wood slats on
so you've
both
even got
sides.
them on the walls too.
Behind the velvet panels, they're
Very
wood
cool.
slats in a particular configuration. We work with an acoustician acoustical technician to tell us the exact pattern
Figure
to put
out
them
where
in.
to put them, and
It's to break up any nodal aberrations, to make sure that everything for this room balanced out perfectly. And then there's a Helmholtz resonator, which I've Googled it, so I kind of sort of know what it is.
a Helmholtz resonator. I've never heard of that. Helmholtz resonator.
I
What
guess
is that?
it evens out the bass and also traps it.
Interesting.
It's kind of sort of like the folded
Okay.
system in the orbit shifter. It shunts air in a particular direction, so you have to build it. You just build the wood in particular configuration to duct the air.
Super interesting. So it kind of
It's
sucks
like
it in and keeps it.
and it's about 13 inches. You know,
Okay.
I lose a little bit of wall space for it, but the benefit is a nice acoustic benefit. It's worth it.
Awesome, man. So kind of
decay is perfect in here. It's perfect. You can get it. There's no bobbles with the decay. It's a nice smooth roll off.
So just a good transition.
Yeah.
Way cool. So we've got JTR speakers up front, the 212 HTRs, orbit shifters in the middle, and then we've got some surrounds. I love what you've done with the surrounds. Talk about those.
But I believe they're 8 HTs all around.
Okay, and so some of them are
slanted,
slanted,
some are flat.
and then some of them are flat. So you've got 2 here,
And then
2 sides, and then 2 surrounds. So these are like your front wides.
Yep.
And then we've got 2 sides, 2 surrounds, and then how many
six.
ceilings?
6 on.
So
No, wait, 4. How many do I have?
No,
6. Actually,
Okay.
6. Yeah.
So we got 2 up here, 2 in the middle, and then 2 in the rear.
Yeah. 2 front, 2 middle, 2 rear. Yep.
So you've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you got a 9.
Yeah. It's 9.6. Yeah.
Yeah. So 9.
2. I guess
Yeah.
2 subwoofers.
9, 2, 6. Man, that's a lot of speakers in here.
Yeah,
But
it's
the
a
cool
few
thing
for a smaller. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a big room.
But the great thing when we were watching some of the demos, man, I love how your Atmos was. Now, you know, you've got a short ceiling, so you don't have that big gap between the sides and the top. But we still just had a good
There's a lot of subtlety.
immersiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now one of the biggest challenges with this room, honestly, was the speaker design. We went back and forth. Mike and I were bouncing back angles and ideas and tweaking it. Honestly, we went through about 5 or 6 different design phases because, and I don't know if this is something I would do again.
Okay.
Because I mean, I do use Aromatic quite a bit.
Okay.
But, I wanted a speaker design that could do, Dolby Atmos with the height channels.
Sure.
And Aromatic.
Yeah.
But the specs for both are so different. Like
They are.
ideal speaker placement.
Yeah, placement is big time.
It doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So you have to make design compromises to get a close to ideal Aromatic placement versus a Dolby one.
Okay.
So that's for this room. The challenge was this is a oddly shaped room and it's height challenge. So
Sure.
we had to make a lot of compromises with exact placement, particularly those front ones,
Okay.
to make it meet the Oro spec and
Okay.
also meet the Dolby spec and
Sure.
have it all work out.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of compromise with exact speaker placement to have like perfect acoustics anyway
Sure.
on paper.
Yeah. Well, I think the
It
reality
did, but
is,
implementation. It's okay.
I think
most
all
things
of us
sound
have
good.
challenges. And I think you guys can relate that we sometimes aren't given, most time we're not given the luxury of just building a room, a dedicated room from scratch. And so sometimes we have,
I know. I saved a long time to do that.
HVAC, that we got to work around. Sometimes we got a beam in the middle of your room because that's a structural deal, a pole.
I've got that with the studio I'm doing now.
Yeah, so we have to learn to kind of figure out, okay, here's what I've always tried to tell people, Bill. Make the best with what you've got, regardless. You've got an incredible system. Is it perfect? No. Are there things that you would change? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, does this thing make you smile?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm content with the performance of it. Yeah.
Absolutely, and you
No
should
doubt.
be. So you mentioned Oro 3D, okay? So we were listening to some content, and we went back and forth between Dolby Atmos,
Yeah.
DTSX, and,
Yeah, we
and
checked them all
Oro
out.
3D. Like, what's your favorite?
Well, I end up listening to Dolby most often because most things are in that.
Yeah.
At least the ones I watch. Some's DTS, but so usually the only time I'll listen to Oro is if it's 2-channel and I'll upmix it. But I'll try it out on lots of different content. I only have actually one disc that's encoded Oromatic Texas
Of course
Chainsaw Massacre.
That's right.
From
Chainsaw
Germany.
Ma-
From Germany.
Chainsaw Massacre and Oro 3D.
I just don't have any.
That's
Oro
got to be
discs.
trippy, man.
It is. It's interesting, but it's an interesting one to watch on Oro.
Oh my
But so
goodness.
everything I experience is upmixed, and it's. I like it. There's for the right type of content, it actually really does enhance. So when it kicks in, when I like it, it's really worth it.
Right. Sure.
But I don't use it on a ton of stuff as a thing, so it's one of these hit or miss things. Honestly, I mostly upmix to Dolby.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. And the funny thing is, because we were in this room, I'll be honest with it. So we were listening to 2-channel, like a video.
Yeah.
And you were like, hey, let's just try it out. So we tried Dolby, we tried DTSX,
And
we
Neural.
tried Neural.
X.
And then we tried Oro 3D, and we all pretty much agreed, at least in your setup, Dolby Atmos by far sounded the best in here.
Yeah. On that one, yeah.
So that's the thing. Again, you got to figure out what works best for you, design your room the way that you want it, and then go for it. So you've got a great set of speakers. They sound phenomenal. Beautiful image up here. Speaking of image, what do you got going on as far as projection?
It's a JVC RS620.
Okay.
Which I like because the black levels. That's
Well, that went dark and that iris closed down. It was gone, man.
when I bought that. They had just transitioned to they just had the new ones out that were laser.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was debating back and forth, should I try to spend a little more and get that?
Sure.
But it was the black level. I figured it better just to go with the black level. I've been happy with it. And then the other big component of the video, I guess, is the Lumagen. I've got the Lumagen processor, which really, I gotta say, that one, that was money well spent, and it was expensive. But
Yeah,
it's worth
Lumagen
it.
isn't cheap. Yeah.
But it's worth it because it evens everything out really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no matter what content you're watching, because I've taken it out of the chain and put it in the chain.
Yeah.
And what it does is subtle, but it's good enough that it really makes every image just that much better.
So see, now you got me wanting to go check out Lumagen, Bill.
Sorry, Adam. I know we're not supposed to with this. You might have to edit that out.
No, we didn't edit nothing, man.
We're not supposed to be like probably that favorable.
Well, that's cool. So you got Lumagen.
And it's like earlier we were talking about Aromatic. I don't want it to come across like I don't like Aromatic. When it kicks in, I really love that stuff. So it's just the thing is, I consider this a dedicated cinema room.
Yeah.
And I think Auromatic's specialty is music.
I think so.
Is that's what
That's
I
what
like
I
it the
have
most
found.
on. And I mean, that track we listened to music,
Yeah.
that was kind of an aberration that we flipped to Dolby. Usually when I'm listening to music, that's when I do upmix and do aural. So if I listen to music a ton down here,
Yeah.
I probably would say that
try
that's
that.
my one. So yeah, yeah.
Very cool,
Didn't
man.
want to disparage Oro
No,
and
no.
give
We know-
Lumagen all the props because they each have their uses. But
Sure.
but in here I'm always watching videos, so
Correct.
Lumagen is just always pumping.
So you mentioned equipment. Like, what do we have going on in your equipment rack? So,
Yeah, so I've got the Lumagen. I've got an Oppo Blu-ray player,
Nice.
the most recent one
before they
before they
shut down.
before they shut down. And then the other big thing is Storm.
Okay, so you're
audio
running Storm
processor.
audio processor?
Yeah, I got Storm audio, and then I've got Lab Group and amps.
Okay. So Lab Group is, I'm not familiar with them. What do they do?
I wasn't either. I mean, I'd heard the name, but I never used them before.
So
I
they
think
just
they're-
strictly amplifiers?
Yeah, I think so. And I'm trying to think, is it Danish company
Okay.
or from
Like
the
from
Swedish
overseas
company?
somewhere?
Yeah, it might be a Swedish company. I don't know.
Okay.
I'd have to look it up, but very flexible amps. They can, I mean, it's basically 250 watts by 4 channels, and I've got
Nice.
four of those.
Okay.
And but it's flexible. It can allocate the 1,000 watts. However, I mean,
Wow.
the system that they have for
So you kind
allocating
of
it.
configure it.
Yeah, it on the fly as I'm watching it has this dynamic way that it can shunt it all like 1,000 to 1. But
Interesting.
the way that it does is real efficient. So
Cool.
yeah, so yeah, that's that. What and then Crosons. I was trying to think of.
Oh, yeah,
I knew
yeah,
there was
kinda
one.
left
I knew
something
there
out
was one
there.
thing I was trying to remember to mention.
So if the orbit
Crosons.
shifters aren't enough, we throw some Crosons
Yeah,
in.
so I've
What's
got-
Crosons?
They're tactile transducers, so
Yeah.
you put them under the seat. You also can have the butt kickers
Sure.
in the back, but I wanted ones that were could go down to a bit lower hertz.
Okay.
'Cause these can go down to like 2 or 4 hertz or something.
Which is insane.
Yeah, because when you're watching the scene with like waves,
Yeah.
ocean waves,
Yeah.
you can just feel the
Just feel the movement.
yeah. But there's one in the rear left corner of each seat, and it shakes. And then there's like rubber, round
Like
rubber
feet kind of thing.
feet that you suspend the other
Sure.
points of the chair on so that it
Kind of
floats and
bounces on
vibrates,
that.
yeah.
Nice. So speaking of chairs, what do we got going on here?
These are just octane microfiber seats.
Okay.
They recline, and then the neck can incline and recline.
So when you're leaning back, that's what my
Yeah.
seats do. You can kind of angle the head. And that's a great feature when you're looking at seating, because when you recline, you don't want to be looking up at the ceiling. You don't want to sit here the whole time. So being able to have that support from the neck is great. Why'd you go with microfiber? I know a lot of guys like myself, I've got leather seats,
Yeah.
so what was the
I
purpose
normally
behind that?
would, but light absorption, because
He's all about, I don't want nothing reflecting off of these, and these absorb that light.
Well, and I've been to enough demos that when you sit in the back and the projector's on and there's a leather seat, it does reflect
So
off
then
of
you
it.
see it in front of you.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
and there is even some reflection off this compared to the velvet. So
Speaking of that,
if I update chairs, they're going to be black velvet, no doubt about it.
some black velvet chairs. I think didn't you even ask them if they had black velvet?
Yeah, I was going to see if I could ship in the velvet that I had, and they do it, but it didn't.
Can you upholster this by just sitting? That's kind of like going to the restaurant and saying, "Hey, I brought my own eggs. I brought my own bacon. Can you just fry this up for me?" So
Yeah.
I would not expect anything less from you, Bill. So let's see. What else can we cover in your theater room? Like, what are some?
I don't know. I think
I
that's
know one
most
thing
of
I
it.
want to talk
I
about.
do want to put Tron lights in it someday, but
You want to put Tron lights in here?
well, it's actually it's a cover from an album from the '70s, but it looks
Nice.
Tron-ish.
Gotcha.
It's just
Kind of like a little tube deal?
yeah,
or-
like blue lights and strips going.
Of course, you wouldn't be able to see that. I mean, you're going to turn that
Yeah,
off
I'd
when
turn
you
it
watch
off,
a movie.
but just
But as you're
if
coming
you're coming
and
in,
you're chilling or listening to some music, that would
yeah,
be
if you're
really
listening
cool.
to music, just ramp them up.
So-
Just do hue strips, and then you just change the colors and stuff
Sure.
like that. But
Definitely a lot of options out there. Now, one thing I saw in your room that I haven't seen in any other theaters that I've visited is your door's pretty unique.
yeah,
So tell me a little bit about your door.
well, it's room within room construction. So there's one door on the outside, one door on the inside with air trapped in between for
Yeah.
sound isolation. But then we've got rubber seals all around.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty much on either side, just to create a vacuum seal.
So speaking of vacuum seal, several times when you shut the door, most of us, we just, let me close the door.
It's
No,
like getting
no
an
lie.
airplane, it pressurizes.
No lie. He's like, check this out, and he would show us. But then sometimes he would leave and come back in, and when he shut the door, you literally put your shoulder into the
Yeah.
door to get it shut. That's a sealed room, man, and so that's pretty awesome. So is that mostly to try to help contain the sound in here so it doesn't leak?
Yeah, contain the sound, and then but then also, I mean, it prevents sounds from getting in here, but it improves the acoustics of the film as well.
Nice.
And without the particular setup that we've got with the wood slats and the reverberations and stuff, it wouldn't have the decay that it had if we hadn't set it up like that. So it does have
Some
mild,
acoustic
subtle.
properties
It does
too.
have mild, subtle improvements in actual listening acoustics as well. Having a room this soundproofed.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when we build a home theater, there's always things that we would change if we could. You know, if we could go back, if Bill could back up before you built this, is there anything that you would like change, something that you're like, man, I wish I would have done that?
Well, ideally, I want height.
Yeah.
You know, the height challenge was
Sure.
because it would sound better. It would, you know, anybody who's taller than like 5'10", 5'11", honestly, is going to bonk their head on that if they're not careful.
Yeah.
So there's that.
And you can't put warning labels on the wall because that would
No.
ruin the vibe in here of
Yeah.
the black velvet.
So no, size would be just a bigger room
Yeah.
with more headroom would be the biggest thing.
Sure.
I would probably like to have seats that, I mean, just little things like that. Improve reflection points, I'd like
Sure.
to.
And some
get
of that
some
you
things
can
like that,
fix
but
now.
yeah.
You just got to take the time to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to do some refinements on that, but big things is no duct work there. You know, having a clean, flat ceiling,
Sure.
and mostly height,
Yeah.
and a little bit more width. I would just like better dimensions to play with, just mostly for acoustical properties, honestly.
Yeah.
But by and large, I'm really happy with the performance of the system. I mean, I planned it out for a long time. I was saving up for this and working on the design of it for a couple of years. So it performs pretty much the way I thought it would, and
Awesome.
I'm by and large happy with it. You know?
Yeah. And like I said, you should be. It sounds
Yeah.
incredible.
I mean, the few improvements I would make is I truly can't do anything about them.
Yeah.
It's just design. It's compromises I had to make.
Sure.
I mean, if I ever have another house that's got, I'll do it slightly differently.
Sure.
But honestly, it'll probably be a similar thing.
Very cool, man. Very cool. Well, Bill, is there anything else in your room that maybe I missed that you'd like to talk about, or part of
No.
your story or your journey along the way?
No, I think that's it.
Dude,
Yeah, with the theater, I just wanted to get this, you know, permanent and locked down so I could watch movies down here. And then the bigger thing is the recording studio. That's going to be
That's
what I
your
do for
next
the rest
step,
of my
huh?
life. Yeah, then I start recording artist phase of life. But
that's awesome.
but no, this was just to get this done so kids and I could spend time down here. You know, at the time when I was building, I was with somebody, so we spent a lot of time down here. So, you know, but it's just a good place to hang out. Whenever I want to watch a movie, it's a nice place. I hardly ever watch them upstairs anymore if it's a movie.
Yep.
I'll just watch TV up there.
I'm with you.
So now I've got a TV room and a movie room, so I'm content with it.
Fantastic.
I like it.
Well, Bill, thanks so much for inviting us over to your
Yeah,
incredible
thanks for
home
coming.
theater. Man, it's been a blast demoing your setup and really just experiencing something different. Some people are going to look at this and go, I don't want a black hole, you know? That's okay. You got to build it the way that you want to build it. Some people look at my theater room and they're like, I don't like all the fancy woodwork. I want to see black up front. We go to some people and they have fancy on the side, but then they have a black out front. And so really, you got to figure out what you want. And that's part of the purpose of doing home theater tours like this. Well, Bill, thanks so much for inviting us into your incredible home, beautiful home theater. You've just spent a lot of time doing research and figuring out what's going to work best for your setup. And we've got 9 home theater tours that we're doing here in Kansas City, Missouri, as well as where we're at now, which is Kansas City, Kansas. And so make sure you subscribe to the channel because we've got more awesome home theaters just like this coming your way. And as always, you guys be blessed, and we'll catch you in the next video. That's it, man.
Thanks.
Boom, dude.
Yeah, this was nice. Thanks.
This is fun.
Yeah.